You're listening to 17 Carat K-Pop, the show that's a little bit of everything with a K-pop twist. Visit 17caratkpop.weebly.com for more information about the show. That's 17caratkpop.weebly.com. Enjoy the show! Welcome back to 17 Carat K-Pop. I am so excited to finally be recording this episode. I have so many thoughts and theories about the new NCT album, but I do feel like it makes the most sense for me to back up. And on past NCT dedicated episodes of the show, I focused on NCT lyrics and connections to other SM Entertainment artist worlds. So this time I want to do what I haven't done yet and talk about the actual music video stories in a new light, given the latest album and lyrics and what trends are continuing, what trends I don't see as actually being a big thing to keep an eye out for storyline-wise anymore. I just have a lot of revisions to my theories to share and a better summary, I think, than ever before of my general theory, so hopefully it is interesting for all levels of fans. If you're a longtime fan who just adores their whole discography, hopefully you'll enjoy my insights, but also if you're a new fan, hopefully this is a good crash course in their music videos and the fun storylines behind them and what you can watch and look forward to from them and expect from the different subunits going forward. So, without further ado, let's just get right into it by talking about every music video plot in the shortest summary I can think of while highlighting still key symbols or character moments to note for later when I get to my all-encompassing theory. 2016 is the year when NCT 127, in the Fire Truck video, they basically infiltrate this girl's memories, past, present, and future, and insert themselves into her life at every point. So she starts out as a little girl, goes off to high school, then works in an office when she's older, becomes a mom herself, and at the very end she's this elderly woman just reflecting on her life, and as she's reflecting out her window, you see the members are back in the backyard where the whole story started, presumably to repeat the cycle with her granddaughter, of just influencing how she remembers things happening. That same year, also from this subunit, we had the song Switch, which may seem like just a B-side that doesn't really have any meaning to it, but the one detail I will add about the video for Switch that seems key for later when I share my more drawn-out theory is that Taeyeon is the one who starts the action in that video. When he presses play on the cassette tape, that's what cues the whole scene to unfold. This was the year where NCT Dream debuted with Chewing Gum, and in that video, the Dream members are basically living in this dorm life, and this camp counselor, or RA, or whoever you want to call it, is coming to figure out what's going on, make sure they're all in bed when it's lights out time. And of course they play along, but then when the instructor leaves, they get out their secret stash of gum and candy and stuff, and they are just goofing off and enjoying being up past their bedtime. And so eventually the instructor goes looking for them and sees them all in this pink room full of chewing gum, naturally. That scene is also where we see the pink plastic pony. That is a detail that will make sense later, as well as all the balloons that are in the air. It's quite a birthday party feel while the boys are hidden in this secret room, this closet in the back of their bedroom that the counselor is looking for them in. And he can't find them, and then he eventually realizes they're in that back room. And the boys basically win by strapping him to a chair with chewing gum so he can't get up. And so they have the last laugh. The video ends where we see the instructor basically walking down the line of them, having them line up single file just to see if they have anything he needs to confiscate that's against the rules, which would include chewing gum. And he doesn't see any on them, but he doesn't realize that one of the members actually does still have a wad of gum behind his back with his hands behind his back that goes unnoticed. So they still get the last laugh. 2017 is when NCT 127 released Limitless. That is kind of a back and forth between scenes in black and white and scenes in color. Other key details there is this flaming ball of fire involved, and lots of giant clouds of smoke are in this setting. A lot is being blown up right now. And there is a brief flash where we see suddenly an image of the members that are basically, while they are in this setting, they are actually in a TV set. That same year, we also had the Cherry Bomb video, which further leaned into that blend of 2D elements with live action movie elements for this plot. In that video, there were a lot of cartoon elements, like Hei-chan basically breaking the screen by punching it or whatever. And we see a lot of other details like that, like fire, animated fire bursting out of the motorcycle backs and all of that. Anyway, so the other key detail to note in that video is that they see the things in the sky are worth noting here. There's the yellow flags flying in the breeze, and then is this giant star symbol type thing, like a compass of sorts, that the clouds form. The cloud formation is some sort of signal that is in the sky. Taeyeon has a key role again. He's holding up a toy plane at one point, but we also see a real full-size airplane at one point too. So I've speculated that that's kind of like a voodoo doll effect with his toy plane, but we'll get to that later. Meanwhile, NCT Dream are still up to their old antics, and this time they're basically goofing off and teasing the teacher, who they all seem to really want to vie for the most attention from, and they just end up goofing off. They make these homemade race cars that they drive around together. They throw things out the window in the school. They're running around the school. They're getting into all sorts of roughhousing behavior, and at the very end there's a really funny plot twist where it looks like they're trying to impress their teacher, but actually the guy who walks past them or just sees that they're goofing off like this and acting so childish just slaps a baby on board sticker on the teacher's car, because he basically just assumed that they were the teacher's kids that were around her, not actual mature men who were trying to impress her. So that was a funny twist in the story. And that same year, they continued to just show off these youthful hijinks through the Wee Yun video, which is very much, again, leaning into that 2D mixed with live action storyline. It's an interesting twist there because it starts out where the 2D cartoon girl is basically the one watching the members. So the humans are the ones in the TV and the 2D girl is watching them. She eventually jumps into the TV screen and tags along and joins the Dream members on their journey. And we also see at one point that the boys were just part of one of the many journeys they could have taken. They're surrounded by different doorways that lead to different worlds, presumably, and they had just been involved in one of those worlds behind one of those doors. 2018 is when NCT 127 released Chain, and that is a song with a video that is less plot-driven and more symbol-driven. The key details to note are the bus setting that it takes place in, which, by the way, at one point we see that the bus is full of white flowers. We also see that they're performing basically on this small square little stage, and there is a key lyric in there that says, "Make a wish." All of that will be worth noting and remembering for later. That same year, they released Regular, which had that gaming theme again, where not everything that's happening is just the plot. It's the plot within the plot, because they're playing a game. There are arcade scenes. There's a scene where Johnny's using like a bow and arrow at this moving target. There are scenes with rocket scenes shooting up in the air and flashing lights. It's a bunch of stuff going on, but it's definitely a gamer type of environment. This is when Win-Win falls off of that building, presumably on purpose, and we've already talked about that meaning in the past NCT episode, so I won't go into it too much more here. This is also the video where Hei-chan stops to suddenly just look up at the sky, and everyone around him is kind of a blur. The camera is mostly focused on him, who's basically looking up at something. Simon Says is a video that is both plot-heavy and symbol-heavy in different ways that are playing out at the same time. It starts out where we see Taeyeon, again, leading the action here. He walks into this room that has a lot of details that are worth noting. First of all, it starts where Taeyeon has this mask on that he pulls off as he walks into the room. And then we see on the left wall, there are bars on that wall, so it looks kind of like a jail cell. Then on the other wall, we see this blue car that's basically framed, so it's like a picture of a car. And then towards the back wall, there's sort of this reflective material the wall is made of, kind of like a mirror. We also see this doorway with a little set of stairs that goes up and around on both ends of the doorway, so you could walk up the stairs from either direction. We will get into that prop later, but just note that that doorway prop is super key for the storyline's sake. It has a lot of meaning attached to it. When all the other members join Taeyeon in the scene, they're all in masks and they are all walking in a circle like a ritual of sorts around that door prop. This is the video where Win falls into the Matrix, basically. Something happens to him. He's kind of sucked up in a black hole, literally and symbolically, at this point in the story. Some other key details: the members end the video by dropping all their masks to the floor and stepping on them on their way out of the room. We also see a room full of folding chairs that are empty, so there's no audience, but people are set up to watch some sort of show. We also see a red car at one point, and we see a bunch of microphones. There are a lot of details that I'll get into later, but the main one to remember, I would say, is that door prop is back, and then Win's character gets sucked into some sort of black hole. Here's what NCT Dream was up to in 2018. In the video for We Go Up, there are a lot of images that flash onto the screen during the first few seconds in rapid succession, from toy rockets and life-size rockets to confetti to hourglasses that are running out of sand. There is one point in the video, actually, where all of the members except Chunla are asleep, and the hourglass runs out. And so Chunla is the only one that is awake as the hourglass has reached the end of its time frame. We see also Hae-Chen stopping to stare again up at the sky, and this time it is at those rockets. This video is further setting up some sort of bigger action happening. You sense that something big is going to happen to them, not just because the hourglass ran out, but also because of the fact that objects are now levitating, and so more of those superpowers are being activated of sorts, because the objects around some of them are suspended in the air as they look at themselves in the mirror and things like that. The members dance in this one room that has this orb-type shape, this white orb of sorts that is hovering above them, which is kind of a powerful, magical field of sorts, and we'll get to that. Also in 2018 from NCT Dream, we had Candlelight, which was not just your standard Christmas song. That was a video where they were basically having a movie within a movie concept, because the music video was filming people who were pretending to film each other and make their own movie, essentially, is the plot of that video. So the members of NCT Dream in their story are continuing to be childlike, but they are growing up a little. Their antics are a little less absurd. NCT U made their debut as a subunit with the Seventh Sense, which has this scene that's bathed in red light, as well as a bunch of other symbols. We see different members in these glass boxes, trapped by themselves. We see that the last part of the video is colorized differently, so what used to resemble some sort of rundown garage setting that they were in is now like a fancy room. I will also note that in this video, Mark's outline, his silhouette is basically glitching in and out of focus. So again, things seem to be building up to something bigger happening here. Yes Today is a video which its main detail that I would like to point out is, well, first of all, the title is really clever if you ask me, because it has the double meaning of yesterday and it's spelled like yes today. Lots to think about there. And second of all, they're in a room full of little TV screens as well as arcade games. And when Doyeon plays the arcade game, it literally adds color to the scene. It goes from black and white to color after activating this arcade game. The Without You video that year starts out basically with a bird's eye view of what's going on, and it looks like it could be a clone of one of the members of the group. From above, it looks like it's just identical, so maybe it was more than one member, or it was a clone of the others. I'll get into that theory later. That is a plot-driven, more than symbol-driven video, where we see Win looking really listful for something as he stares out the window longingly on this bus. Also, we see that Taeil and Jaehyun are both super jealous of Doyeon because he's apparently going out with this girl they both dated previously, so they're both really upset with Doyeon for taking their girl. Win presumably is too, but it's not really officially confirmed if he's sad about missing out on the same girl. All of the NCT subunits came together at last for Empathy, a 2018 album that featured all of the members that had joined the group thus far, along with music videos for a lot of the songs on that album, if not all of them. The Boss video is a key one to note. It has that school bus setting again, as well as this office setting where Taeyeon again plays a key role. He's in one office room by himself contemplating, but then he's also in one room later where he and Mark get up on the table, like literally jump up on the table and charge toward each other, angry and probably about to fight about something, but we don't get to see the aftermath of the fight. Again, all these videos seem to be building up to some big conflict, but we don't know what that is yet. The video also features that big magnetic field, that white orb of sorts floating in the sky again. We also see the auditorium set up, or some sort of auditorium, some theater seating is ready to go, but again, there's hardly any audience. There's one member now that's sitting in the auditorium, but no one else is watching whatever show is being set up. We see Win-Win back. He's staring out the bus window again like he was in Without You, still looking somber about something. And there's a flame circle and some fire imagery. Black on Black is the video where this marble structure, like all these little black metal balls, these marbles, and the image that you get of those that are suspended in the air in like little magnetic fields of sorts suddenly show up more than ever, and we'll get to that later, but that's the key detail from that video. NCT Dream's song from that album, Go, is one where we see the members are basically riding around in a car. There's a bus also speeding behind them that is just a blurry image behind them. We see this elevator that will have a lot of meaning later. They're just kind of goofing off, hanging out together again, but they're still growing up, you know? They're popping wheelies on their bicycles and stuff, so they're not necessarily mature, but their activities are at least blowing off steam in a more productive way than like strapping your teacher to a chair with chewing gum. This album included the songs and video releases for Yesterday, Without You, and The Seventh Sense. Lastly, Dream in a Dream was Ten's solo single for that album, and in that video he's seen dancing with falling red flower petals at one point, and then white flower petals are seen rising up. Remember, in the Chain video, the white flowers filled the bus. Now they're rising up out of the sky after we saw red petals earlier. In that video also, he's standing in a glass box at one point. He's also performing on a small square stage, so a lot of symbols are coming back around, and he walks past a giant shadow behind him at one point. Now we're up to 2019 in this timeline, and we're going to skip over the album Awaken, because we talked about that in previous NCT episodes a lot already, and its lyrical content and connections. Now let's move on to more thematic connections in Superhuman, the music video that NCT 127 released that year. That video obviously shows off superpowers at work more than ever. So all of this build up, one of the big climaxes we see in NCT's story is when they fully unleash their powers, like in Superhuman. We see Do-yeon walking by a bunch of clones of himself. Jungwoo is levitating in the air at one point. A lot is happening simultaneously. Mark and Johnny each take a turn at the keyboard, and when they do, certain 2D style or 3D but computerized elements seem to shoot out of the keyboard magically. We also see these rain or water droplets or something moving in reverse when Mark is in that room, so time might be turning backwards there. There is a lot happening. The key detail, though, is that this little robot dude is there, and we're going to talk about him a lot later, but from here on out, he'll be called Mr. Metal. I named him that. Mr. Metal is basically sometimes silver, sometimes gold. He looks a little bit melted in some ways, but he's some sort of metal, small little structure robot dude without a face or anything, just like an outline of a person sort of sculpted. Anyway, Mr. Metal is there, and we're going to talk about him later. The blind followers, just symbolically, not literally blind, that seems to be a recurring trend now, because in Simon Says they were all kind of just blindly following orders, and now Haechan is followed by this group of black hooded figures who are just following him, literally. The video ends with the rings appearing, a big symbol that we'll call the resonance rings, and I'll get back to later, but just note that that's when we first see those appear and be front and center. For NCT Dream in 2019, they released Boom, where the red car is back. There's also a setting where they're on a small stage. A lot of recurring themes are now becoming quite familiar to see in NCT videos for any subunit. Also, there are books in the library scene that just fly through the air. So again, those levitating elements and other superpower type things are happening. One of the members is seen all these different places at once, so sort of like in this room as a clone. All of these clones are walking in different directions in the same room. One of those clones is either dead or asleep, however you want to interpret that, but lying in some sort of glass box in the center of the room they are in. As you probably guessed is their trademark by now, NCT Dream continues to just goof off with each other. They're playing tag and running through these rows of seats. Again, it's that theater seating that is set up, but no audience is there yet. 2019 is the year where the NCT China subunit, also called WayV, debuted with their own version of the NCT Sun Regular, and this version got its own video with its own symbols. The key details that keep surfacing are we have those small square platforms that they perform on or just are on for part of the video. We see glitching in and out again, an empty auditorium setting, those static flickering screens of computers at different points. Some new key details, though, that will be worth noting again later are the close-ups of shattered glass imagery, as well as Woonwin's character was now, after he fell through the Matrix or whatever for NCT, now this is when he actually left that subunit and they put him in the WayV subunit. So his whole character arc is changing now because he basically fell to the dark side. And so now he eats this diamond, which I would say makes more sense later, but that has never been, that loose end has not been tied up yet in the story, but he eats a diamond and it does something. And lastly, Ten's dance performance looks like it's just something happening without an audience and no one's watching it, but then suddenly the camera zooms out and we see that Ten's performance is not even actually happening in real life. It is actually happening it's just a video someone's watching on their phone. And we see the phone is just lying on the ground. And so in the next scene, Kun walks in and steps on the phone and cracks the screen and cracks the image of that performance. So Dream Launch is one of my personal favorite WayV music videos, where they go on this really cute adventure. They're trying to basically find a way to stargaze and just sit on the roof without anyone finding out. So they're in this setting where there's some grandma or aunt or someone else who's taking care of them, and they wait for her to go asleep, and once the coast is clear, Lucas wakes the rest of them up so they can go try to figure out how to get on the roof. So they are looking all over for a way. They try stacking books and furniture on top of each other to get to the attic. Eventually, they actually find a giant ladder that just happened to be in the closet. Some way it magically fit in that closet without being folded up or anything. Anyway, so they ditch their old plan and finally set up the ladder and go up to the roof. When they get there, actually, the grandma or aunt, whoever's the babysitter at the time, wakes up and goes to find them and finds out what they were up to, but doesn't really do anything with that. The plot doesn't really go further with her. She just kind of stares up at realizing what they've done and doesn't stop them. So while the members are up on the roof, they suddenly realize that they can see Earth from wherever they are. So that is quite an epic plot twist, where suddenly they thought they were looking at the night sky, but they are looking at planet Earth out above them, so they're not even there. Another detail to note is that in this video, Ten opens up the closet while looking for the ladder, and a piece of candy falls out, which to me seemed like a little nod back to the chewing gum video. The small TV set is also, again, a part of the story, as is a rocket being used as like a prop. There's a toy rocket that is hanging from the ceiling, and to me seemed like another nod to NCT Dream. Hence the name Dream Launch, maybe? The car color that WayV has, as opposed to the blue car and the red car that seem to be part of NCT Dream story, now we see a white car in red, but mainly I want to focus on the white car because that is the one in the takeoff video that Ten spray paints all over, that Woonwin stands on in a different video when he's trying to hit a baseball off of something. The white car is the one that gets busted up windows at one point. It's a big part of WayV's storyline. Other details about the takeoff music video: there's more levitating, more glitching, and actually glitching in and out at one point are these 2D black angel or devil wings of some kind. There is also this V logo for WayV that is seen suspended in the air with some sort of like AR technology look to it. This neon green V is on the screen in front of them. And the members hold up this dark navy maybe or black colored flag, which is, again, I think is another nod to NCT Dream's flag, or possibly a connection to NCT 127's flag, which was yellow. I think the subunits have different colored flags for a reason. Hopefully this repetition will help you remember these key symbols for later, because we definitely have a lot of repetition in the symbols for Moonwalk, the next WayV video release, which featured images of clock hands, a bunch of mini rockets or comets or something like that flying through the sky, Another fireball is flying around. A small little stage that they dance on. We see the white cars back. The members all walk up to a flower and vase at one point that's sitting on a table. And lastly, there is that big symbol again in the sky, a compass-style symbol that the clouds form into. Another nod, presumably, to NCT Dream's video. Love Talk was a B-side that got its own music video eventually for Wavy. It was not the first single off of the album, but then it became one. And the Love Talk video sounds like it would be really, really cute and pastel-y maybe, but it's not. It's full of gray storm clouds and some sort of very dark cityscape setting. The last image on the screen in that video is of this cube that is ascending into the gray sky, and that cube that is ascending has the Wavy logo on it. It's like a Rubik's Cube type of look to it, and it's levitating and rising up, which reminded me of that orb that is a big part of the storyline and magnetic field of NCT, and now Wavy kind of has their own symbol, showing that they're kind of more of an offshoot than the other subunits are to NCT as a whole. In 2020, NCT 127, in March, they released Kick It as part of the Neo Zone album. In the Kick It video, the members are fighting and doing karate moves and all of that. Taeyeon is controlling them again with waves of his hand. He kind of controls the motions and direction of the other members. We also see Mr. Metal is back, and that elevator prop is back. Their larger-than-life shadows are seen behind this yellow wall behind them, and the key lyric for Kick It is "Raise your glass like my birthday." There are a lot of references to wishes and birthdays and stuff throughout this storyline. The members put on a follow-up act of sorts for Punch, and in that video, NCT 127 is again kind of putting on a show, where they're dancing on a boxing ring-esque small square stage together. There are some blurred images and glitching moments again. And a key lyric there is "My show goes on." Again, they're putting on a show here. What has NCT Dream been up to this year? They released the video for Ride-In, where we see that the key details they want us to remember for them are the car and flames. The car is shown, there's a black car in the video, and then they also have a red car again, which looks like the red car from before, but now it's actually a toy car that's just skittering around on the ground. So note that toy race car, and also note the flame that keeps showing up. At one point, Ji-sun is reading this newspaper, but the flame kind of tears it down the middle. Also, a lighter hits the ground at one point and sparks this burst of images that flash across the screen really fast, as if that kind of indicated it triggered the action that leads to a new dimension, maybe. Meanwhile, in Wavy's Turn Back Time video, they are seen with tiny TV screens in the room again. We see all this glass, these shards of glass that end up levitating. Win-Win is chained down with really thick chains, and we see a red flashing light around him. He is in some sort of danger zone now, as well as the other members, like in a boiler room that keeps getting warmer, and other moments there's one of them that's drowning. So things are, clearly they are in a state of panic and peril right now. But Ten seems to have things sort of under control. He holds out this card that has Wavy's logo on it again, and the scan of the card is basically what allows this jailbreak type escape scene to be triggered. Not sure if it really works though, because they have a lot more problems that follow, but anyway. They have this scene with mirrors behind them, more glass imagery. The final image in this video is of a very apocalyptic setting, where all the gray city buildings form this V shape when zoomed out. And then in the Battle Live B-side track video, we see another small square stage that they are dancing on, and the red light symbolism is back. In this video, at one point, we also see Win-Win upside down, so he's just not having a good day in this video. All of the subunits, now including Wavy, teamed up for NCT 2020, and in Resonance Part 1, one of the singles was Make-A-Wish. Make-Wish, aka the birthday song, again has clearly the wishing and birthday storyline. Also, the magical elements, the supernatural elements of NCT characters are back. In the Make-A-Wish video, the members pop in and out of this flame as the other members circle the platform that they appear and disappear from repeatedly. Also, this video ends with a magic act of sorts, where the members throw a cloth up in the air, and by the time it reaches the ground and goes past them, they have disappeared behind it. the very final moments of the video, the part of the video where a lot of people have already pressed skip or play again and don't actually watch those last 2 seconds, those are the details in SM Entertainment videos you have to still watch. Because in this case, that is the video where we suddenly see a seemingly irrelevant scene, but it harkens back to earlier eras of theirs, where we see the bus, but now it's full of purple flowers. Before it was white flowers, and now they're purple. Also, Taeyeon is swinging from a chandelier, which just felt noteworthy and attention-grabbing from that video. The Misfit video features the members again on that small square stage setting, and in the Deja Vu video, the members are preparing for some sort of contest, some sort of competition, and they receive an invitation to a carnival of sorts. Those are the NCT Dream members, so they're going back to that birthday party / carnival festive setting. Resonance Part 1 also came with some teaser films about the past and the present, the past and the future, or whatever, and one of those, past to present, had quotes about, life isn't always like the movies, and other lines were spoken during that instrumental, but little lyrics were thrown in there about how this is all kind of a movie of sorts, and not real life. In one of those teaser videos, Taeyeon is seen with just a clap of his hands assembling all of the NCT members around him, so he continues to have a very powerful role here. He also is standing in the elevator at one point, which is now white instead of silver. It's all cleaned up and fancy now. This video also shows one of the newest members, Shotaru, putting this holographic playing card of sorts in line with these other holographic type high-tech cards, and once he does that, it's like the final piece of a puzzle that activates the other new member, Sunchan, to show up. At least, that's not directly seen, but the correlation is implied that that was the action needed to bring the next member into this realm of existence with the other members of NCT so far. The video for the Resonance interlude showed a lot of prior NCT music video clips in rapid succession again and again and again. I spent a lot of time pressing pause and play to make sure I knew the exact order and everything of the clips that were shown. Yes, I am that obsessed with their music. And when I was doing that, I noticed that some clips were showing up more than others. And the ones that seemed to show up the most were for Wakey Wakey, The Seventh Sense, Fire Truck, Chewing Gum, Black on Black, Boss, Limitless. Basically what you need to remember though is that the clips that ended up being shown more than once were for music videos that really alluded to or kind of directly indicated the concept of time. Whether it was a video all about youthfulness or growing up or literally turning back time, those videos seem to be shown a lot. And the video for Turn Back Time Wavy Sun was the very final video that got an image in that succession. Real fast, I want to just highlight a 2019 single released from my bias Taeyeon, not just because he's my bias, but it does have to do with the story here. So his video for Lawn Flight shows him on an airplane, presumably. But at one point in the video, the camera zooms out and we see that he is actually on some sort of movie set or something. He's set up on a little stage and pretending to be flying somewhere. There are many more symbols in NCT's universe that I won't have time for, but I'm just going to highlight the ones that are most important for my theory's sake. First of all, the cars. We see red cars, black cars, blue cars, and white cars throughout the storyline. The white car is associated the most with Wavy and the sight of the wreckage they cause often. The busted windows, the spray paint, just standing on it in general, ignoring any thought of keeping it clean and everything. So that is the site of a lot of destruction. The red car is a part of every subunit for sometimes just kind of like a background prop of sorts, other times literally they're riding in the car, and red was also the color of that mini car that ended up being part of the set for the riding video. The blue car is in the We Go Up video and Simon Says. So it's in NCT Dream Story and NCT 127 Story. The red car is in all the subunits, and then the white car is associated with Wavy. Every subunit has at least one music video that takes place in a bus/subway car setting, except for Wavy. But who used to be just a part of NCT, Win-Win, instead of before Wavy was its own subunit, when Win-Win was part of other NCT subunits, he had music video roles where he was sitting in a bus staring out the window. So Win-Win kind of carried over that symbol when he joined Wavy, you could assume, and so that is a part of all of the character stories. each subunit has a different color flag associated with it, yellow, black, or kind of a dark navy. The rockets are symbolized for every NCT subunit. All of them have either a toy or a life-size or both rocket ships as a part of their videos. Glass shards and mirror imagery or reflective material also plays a role in all of these different subunits' work. There are also Super M connections for another SM Entertainment group that has some NCT members in it as well. Those Super M videos and NCT videos have the levitating or suspended objects in the air, as well as that marble imagery that I talked about earlier. The flame imagery is a part of all of these subunits, the 2D and 3D world blending. References to this all being a show or a movie or a small stage setting they dance on, all of that is a part of every subunit storyline as well. And every subunit has scenes where we see a bunch of folding chairs or otherwise some sort of theater seating with no one in the audience or maybe one person. But a show is ready, but no one is there to watch it. What's more interesting to me is not necessarily those symbols that every subunit has associated with them, but the ones that every subunit except Wave V has. Because remember, they're the ones living in destruction, essentially, in that dystopian setting. The carnival ride setting of sorts, or like some sort of amusement park ride being a part of the setting in some way, that is a part of videos for every subunit except 127 and Wave V, but I mostly want to focus on that Wave V aspect for now. All units except Wave V have clones in at least one of their videos. All units except for Wave V have that glass box setting for some of their characters. And lastly, balloons or some other birthday reference or symbolism is a part of every subunit's video plots except for Wave V. So to recap, Wave V is involved and has a lot of those Easter eggs and other symbolism that other NCT units have, but they don't have the glass boxes and some of the other symbols of being trapped. But they also don't have some of the positive symbols, the ones with good connotations like birthdays and other celebratory events like going to the carnival. So Wave V is missing out on those opportunities, and Wave V members do not get clones or the option to have the power to clone themselves in any way. So I ultimately have a couple of related theories, because they're not mutually exclusive necessarily, but I have some working theories that I have discussed at length in previous NCT episodes of the show, but just a quick recap version. First of all, this is a world within a world. It's a TV show within a movie within a video game, or a phone game within a video within a movie, a dream within a dream within a dream. There are layers of consciousness and existence that the NCT members are traveling through. That is my big overarching theory, is that that's what's happening here, and they're trying to and struggling to decipher which elements and settings and plots and symbols and characters, all of that, which elements of their lives are real and which are just an illusion to them. And so they're really dealing with a lot of literal and metaphorical questions about existence and reality. Second part of my theory is that the different subunits represent different parts of existence and different levels of living, essentially. So I view the members as living basically on Earth, except for Wave V is in Hell. So Wave V members are plagued by the 7 sins. They are basically the ones who are acting out the most. They're the ones who are living in a state of distress. They are the ones who don't really have superpowers to save them, really. They don't have the elements on their side, and they don't get to grow up. My overall third element of the theory then is that Wave V members are stuck. They're trying to turn back time, and they're wrestling with the question of, do they want to go back in time? What do they want? And they don't know how to be happy. And the other members that are on Earth for the other subunits are getting older. They are just aging normally, but the Wave V members are too stuck on, man, I want to be younger again, or man, I want to be older by now. And so they're so preoccupied with that suddenly they're living on a different planet and they can't. They have no ability to alter time in a way that allows them to be younger or older and feel satisfied. So maybe they can feel like they changed time, but not in a way that satisfies them. Ultimately, to me, NCT's music video universe so far has been all about creating your own reality. That's the bottom line here. And all of these symbols are used to help show that there is consistency in life and some elements of life can follow a rhythm and be predictable, but other elements are what you make of them. It can be a nice polished white car you drive around in, or a spray painted personalized one. Not encouraging you to vandalize, I'm just using that as an example of a way where each subunit and each individual in each subunit is trying to go their own way, and when they can't feel like they can distinguish themselves, they try to find a new way to exist. Well, if I'm not accepted here, I'm going to play a role and act in a movie. Or I'm going to fall down the matrix and end up in Wavy like Win-Win did. So they're just trying to find happiness and finding out how they want to live and creating their own reality. They're trying to figure out how they can bring certain elements into their dimension, whichever one that is, and I do think different members tend to be living on different dimensions at the same time. And so to get them all assembled in one place, we need someone like Taeyeon, the mastermind behind a lot of this, to clap their hands or do something else that suddenly magically brings everyone back together like a superhero squad. Some key symbols that I will have special nicknames for going forward on the show, so stay tuned for those. First of all, Mr. Metal. That was a part of Superhuman and Kick It. I think that little robot character will continue to play a role, as well as in other SM Entertainment videos, because that character was in Taemin's latest video as well. Second of all, the resonance rings. That is what I will call the symbol that became part of the logo for NCT's Resonance Part 1 and 2 album covers, because I view that as kind of the symbol of NCT as a squad that is assembled. When they're all together, the resonance rings show up, and it is the reunited moment when that is just their magic superhero ring symbol. Number 3 is that orb structure that I think triggers some sort of superpower or magnetic field impact. Maybe it affects the space-time continuum for them as well. The glow sticks that a lot of the characters wave around at points probably have some sort of magic power, like a magic wand of sorts that's worth noting. The doorway is a key detail as well. Whenever I refer to the doorway, I'm referring to that prop that's in a lot of videos where it's a doorway with a little set of stairs on both sides of it. That prop is used in key scenes like for Simon Says, and it was also part of the teaser images for this new comeback. And that doorway to me represents the different dimensions and going between them, just like the elevator does, which is another key symbol, and I think that that's the time machine essentially. The elevator, the time machine, I'm going to use those words interchangeably. Key repeated symbols that are a big part of the story and probably will continue to be going forward: Mr. Metal, the resonance rings, the doorway, the glow sticks, the orb type thing in the sky, the elevator / time machine, and lastly, the marble structure that shows the little marble and slide toy type thing, which may sound corny or like a weird symbol. It was in Boss and Black on Black and in the interlude for Resonance. Why it keeps showing up, there are a couple of, again, layered theories I have about that. One is that this connects to SM Entertainment's overall story because Super M videos have those levitating metal marble structures in the air as well. So those are part of Super M videos as a little nod to NCT and vice versa. Second reason they're there, not just a continuation of other SM Entertainment world indicators, but also because it has to do with that car, that little toy race car from NCT Dream's riding video, as well as other moments where we see different members in the TV screen or otherwise just different size thing, like a toy airplane being held up by Taeyeon instead of a full-size airplane. There are moments where suddenly we see that the image was just a toy-size thing. I expanded on that a lot more in previous episodes, but anyway, it is kind of like Inception meets Horton Hears a Who here, because it's not just different dimensions, it's different size dimensions then. Like some members might be looking down at other members who are looking down at other members in a smaller world, in a smaller and smaller world, or a bigger and bigger world, and they're looking up. Remember, Haechan keeps stopping to stare up at the sky like he's looking up into the other world. And so NCT Dream may be one of those subunits that lives in the tiny world, and they just busted out of it for the Raiden video, and we saw that they used to live in that little ant-sized world with the red car was actual size for them. That's just my theory for why those toys keep showing up and at different sizes. The size keeps changing, I think, maybe because of one of the members' superpowers, but I think it has more to do with the fact that their different levels of consciousness lead to them existing in universes that come in different sizes. After the break, I will have a quick character rundown for what to look for in some of the main characters going forward, as well as my overall review of Resonance Part 2. quick rundown of some of the key characters. I know I did this kind of character recap in previous NCT episodes as well, but this time I've kind of altered who I think you should keep an eye on story-wise based on my ever-evolving theories about this NCT music video universe. Taeyeon is the character to watch when it comes to leadership. He is not just literally the group leader outside of the storyline, but also he's kind of controlling things. He's calling the shots. He's the one that summons all the other members when he needs to bring them together to do some sort of task. He's the one who is the first to take off a mask and direct the others to come forward. He basically is summoning people all the time. He also, though, his character in the story has a bit of a short temper. Remember, he almost fought Mark over something, we still don't know what. So he is trying to figure out how he truly feels about these people. But that is a continuous part of his character evolution, and I would keep my eyes out for what happens for him going forward. Ten's character also seems to be uniquely situated because he is in a role where he does call some of the shots for Wave V. Remember, he has that card with Wave V's logo on it that he could scan like a key and it triggered a jailbreak of sorts for them. So he has a lot of power, but he also, it's not really going to much use because they haven't escaped their inner demons or outer demons in the Wave V world. And because he's constantly seen dancing with blindfolded dancers around him or with no one watching in the audience. So all of this potential is going unseen and unheard. Lucas's character is really in distress in the Wave V world and has an interesting symbol associated with him there where he grows these wings that are angel wings but they're blood-stained, and that just reminded me of in another Wave V video where the animated black angel wings showed up. But now he's got the white angel wings, but they're not perfect yet. And so he seems to be undergoing some sort of evolution, maybe from evil to good, to get out of the Wave V world, maybe. Win-Win seems to be a big player who can be a negotiator bringing subunits together. Remember, he was the one who ended up in Wave V after spending a while with NCT 127's world, and he is basically kind of viewed as sort of a messiah character, I think, who is basically reviving different members who are in hell and bringing them back, or trying to, with the elevator. He's like transporting them with that time machine is how I see it. But meanwhile, he's still trying to deal with his own deals as well. So he's still chained up at times and he's still struggling, but he's still trying to find a way to rescue everyone else while he's trying to save himself as well. Chunla I would keep an eye out for because not only was he the only NCT Dream member awake when the hourglass ran out, but also because he seems to be the NCT Dream character who's manifesting his powers the most strongly. When he waves his arms, that's all it takes for flames to rise around him, and other moments like that make you think, whoa, he's got a lot of power and untapped potential here as a superhero. I would, of course, also keep an eye on the new members, Shotaru and Sunchan, because they were playing a big role in basically showing that NCT will continue to have members added on, and another piece of the puzzle was literally filled so that they could come into existence. So they're basically digitally, creating and bringing into existence new members in this story. Lastly, Haechan, because he's the one that keeps stopping to stare up at the sky as if he's trying to figure out what's going on and what dimension he is on or in. And I do think he will continue to be a self-aware character, or at least more introspective than the others, instead of just blindly going with, okay, I guess we'll go with this. I guess we're in this dimension now. He doesn't seem to be accepting that as much. He stops to question that more, and that is what causes him to stand out and be a leader. As those hooded figures follow in his footsteps blindly, he won't be just another follower of someone just blindly following orders. So we've talked about the symbols, we've talked about the characters, we've talked about the settings, we've talked about the chronology. Now let's finally talk about the new album. 90s Love is the new single from Resonance Part 2, and this song and video is just a lot of fun and just seems like a pretty light, fun video, but you know me and how much I love to theorize about this world, so I've got to overly analyze it as well. And in that video, there are elements that are a bit cartoonish in some ways. There are dancing dinosaurs and stuff. The video game imagery is back with the Dinos vs. Snakes game that a few members are playing at the time. And in addition to video games, there are just scenes with the Zamboni and the ice hockey rink and stuff. What I would note is, first of all, that Win-Win's jersey gets front and center treatment. So again, I just think people keep reminding us he's a key character here, even in the lighter videos. They don't want us to forget that. Second of all, there are lyrics in that song like the meaning of time I've never seen and the meaning of space I've never been in. So again, repeated lyrics about, like we've talked about in previous episodes, the space-time continuum and them trying to reach for their dreams or decide what's a dream and what's reality and what they can turn into reality and things like that. Lastly, the video ends with Haechan spinning in a circle. He's like sitting on something and spinning faster and faster until all of a sudden he's in some sort of Matrix type thing. He looks like he's falling through that black hole type environment just like Win-Win did. So I feel like there's a lot to expect from his character very shortly. More references to breaking the space-time continuum and bursting out of the Matrix, essentially, and figuring out what is an illusion, what's real, all of that continues to be alluded to in the lyrics from this new album on the B-sides. In the song IOU, there are lyrics like, I'm a kid, I feel like I'm dreaming, and I think in the whole storyline, really NCT Dream is kind of like maybe heaven, but also just in general viewed as a polar opposite of WayV's world, where WayV has a hard time celebrating and NCT Dream are the ones who get the birthday themed videos and the carnival settings, and they're having the most fun, clearly, in their lives still. They're acting youthful, and that's what brings them joy, and then NCT 127 members get to play in that world a bit too, but WayV does not have that privilege. Other lyrics I want to point out from that song just because they're cute and I like them. The night when the first snow falls like spring rain. Thank you a lot, now it's my turn, you make my wishes come true. Feels like Christmas every time I'm with you. Again, that wishes come true thing I would make a note of, but otherwise it's just a cute lyric. This song, Raise the Roof, is obviously just a fun, light song, but I do like that they include the word resonate, which is part of this whole album theme. The lyrics include, did you hear the signal? We're gonna resonate, a special sense, get rid of all of the rules you know, the frequency is amplifying, all of that. Those references to breaking through something, bursting the space-time boundaries as we see them. They also reference this horizon of elements and miracles. They refer to resonance and waves and vibes being in contact with each other in a way, like the magnetic fields are aligning in a certain way, like those orbs in the video were. In the song All About You, they sing, I guess everything was a dream. I was so happy, guess I can't help it. It was a shining memory, a treasured fantasy, I'm living in a dream. And they keep repeating, I be living in a dream. They are becoming more and more aware in this story, I think, of the fact that not all of this is as real as they wish it was, and so that will probably lead to more introspection on their characters' part as the story progresses further. I could talk all day about this album. It's really great and wonderful, but obviously I have definitely overextended my welcome in your day just talking, so I'll be done for now. But lastly, thank you to NCT for just another great album. They're so much fun to watch the videos from and listen to and decode and just feel like a detective while watching and listening. And they're just so much fun and get me to reflect on a lot. So although the songs may sound goofy and light and like nothing is deep and meaningful, I still draw a lot of fun and joy and meaning from it. So that's what matters, and that's what's so cool about music that is so next level. You know, you've got some next level impressive and special music when it becomes a tool that fans can interpret however they want, and they can do what they want with it, and I choose to theorize over every bit of it. So that's my interpretation, but it's a gift for fans to do what they want with. So thank you for the gift, NCT, and I just can't wait for the next release from you all. So thank you all for listening. Go stream Resonance Part 2, and I will see you next week. I know I've teased before that there's a big song that I wanted to talk about on the show this week. If you read my newsletter, you know what I'm talking about. I will get to it next week because you'll hear from me next week for a big news recap. But until then, I'm just taking a few days off of the show, but I will be back on Monday. Thank you all for listening, and see you next week. And a few weeks after that, I'll be at my 100th episode. Hopefully something super special is coming your way for that. That is all I will say for now. Thank you for listening.